I didn't think betrayal had a sound, but now I know it does. It sounds like laughter in another room when you thought you were the only one who made him laugh like that. Ha ha ha, yeah, just like that. It sounds like a phone vibrating at 2:17 a.m., lighting up a dark bedroom, and you pretending you didn't notice because your heart already knew. Welcome back to Inspired Real Events, where ordinary people meet impossible family and the quiet ones learn the loudest lessons. If betrayal, gratitude, and slow burn justice are your thing, you're in the right place. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from, and be sure to subscribe. My name is Claire. I'm 35 years old. I live in a quiet town just outside Seattle. And this is the story of how I lost everything I thought was real and how I found something I never expected, even after everything shattered. It didn't start with pain. It started with love. The kind that feels warm and safe, like a blanket fresh out of dryer. The kind where you laugh too loud in restaurants and don't care who's starring. That's how it was with Ethan. We met at a bookstore. Yes, I know, cliché. I reached for the same novel he did, our hands brushed, and he smiled in that awkward, charming way. I laughed, I actually laughed out loud. Guess we have the same taste, he said. Or the same timing, I replied. We ended up getting coffee, then dinner, then more dinners. Then weekends together. And before I knew it, my toothbrush was sitting next to his. Life felt easy. We would dance in the kitchen, burn pancakes on Sunday mornings, and argue about stupid things like which movie to watch, then end up watching neither because we'd get distracted talking. He used to look at me like I was the only person in the world. And I believed him. God, I really believed him. 3 years later, we got married. It wasn't a huge wedding. Just close friends and family, fairy lights in a garden, soft music playing in the background. I remember walking down the aisle and seeing him wipe his eyes. He laughed through his tears, ha ha ha, and I thought, this is it, this is forever. Forever, such a dangerous word. The first year of marriage was beautiful. We built routines. Grocery shopping together, late-night drives, random road trips just because we felt like it. He would kiss my forehead every morning before leaving for work, every single morning. Until he didn't. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. People change, right? Life gets busy. He started coming home later. His phone was always face down. He smiled at texts he wouldn't explain. I'd ask casually, "Who's that?" "Just work," he'd say, "just work." Those 2 words started to feel heavy. One night I waited up for him. It was past midnight. The house was silent except for the ticking clock that suddenly felt too loud. When he finally came in, he smelled different. Not like alcohol, not like work, something softer, something unfamiliar. Perfume. My chest tightened, but I smiled anyway. "You're late," I said. "Long day," he replied, not even looking at me. No kiss, no forehead touch, just distance. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the gap between us grew. I tried to fix it. Oh, I tried so hard. I cooked his favorite meals. I planned a weekend getaway. I wore that dress he used to love. He noticed, but not the way I hoped. "You don't have to try so hard," he said one night. Try so hard. The words hit me like a slap. Was loving him trying too hard? That night I cried in the bathroom quietly so he wouldn't hear. Tears falling into the sink, hands shaking, heart whispering something I wasn't ready to hear. Something was wrong. And deep down, I already knew what it was. But knowing and accepting are 2 very different things. The truth came on a Tuesday. Ordinary day, ordinary weather. Ordinary me, completely unprepared. He left his laptop open. That's all it took. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I just wanted to check something, an email, a recipe, anything. But then I saw it, a message. Her name wasn't saved as anything suspicious, just Lena. Simple, normal, dangerous. I shouldn't have clicked, but I did. And in that moment, my entire world cracked open. "I miss you already. I wish I could fall asleep next to you again. Last night meant everything." My hands started trembling. My vision blurred. I felt like I was falling, like the ground beneath me had disappeared. No, 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 I kept scrolling. Photos, smiles, inside jokes that weren't mine, memories that didn't include me. I let out a sound I didn't recognize, somewhere between a sob and a laugh, ha ha ha, except it wasn't funny. It was the sound of something breaking inside me. That's what betrayal sounds like. I didn't confront him right away. I couldn't. I sat there for hours, staring at the screen, reading the same messages over and over as if they might change, as if I might wake up, but I didn't. When he came home that evening, I was sitting on the couch, waiting. He looked at me, confused. "Hey, you okay?" That word, okay. I almost laughed again. Instead, I whispered, "Who is Lena?" Silence. Thick, heavy, suffocating silence. His face changed. And in that moment, I knew everything. "I can explain," he said. Explain what? The lies, the late nights, the perfume. Explain," my voice cracked. "Explain how long this has been going on." He hesitated. That hesitation, it said more than any words ever could. "A few months," he finally admitted. "A few months." I felt my heart shatter into pieces so small I wondered if I'd ever be able to put them back together. "A few months," I repeated, my voice shaking. "We've been married for 4 years, Ethan." "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said quickly. "It just happened. Just happened, like it was an accident, like he tripped and fell into someone else's arms." I stood up, my legs barely holding me. "Did you love her?" I asked. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Tears streamed down my face. I couldn't stop them. I didn't even try. "Do you love me?" I whispered. And that was the moment that destroyed me, because he looked away. He looked away. I let out a broken laugh. Ha ha ha, hollow, empty, painful. "Wow," I said. That's your answer." "I care about you," he said softly. "Care, not love, care." I nodded slowly, wiping my tears even though they kept coming. I think I need you to leave," I said. He looked shocked. "Claire, please," I interrupted. "Just go." And just like that, he did. He packed a bag, walked out the door, and the silence that followed was unbearable. The house felt empty. No, not empty. Haunted. Every corner held a memory. Every room echoed with laughter that now felt like a lie. I sat on the floor that night, crying until I couldn't breathe, crying until there were no tears left, crying until I fell asleep right there, surrounded by pieces of a life that no longer existed. The next few weeks were a blur. Friends called. I didn't answer. Family checked in. I said I was fine, another dangerous word. I wasn't fine. I was broken completely. I stopped cooking, stopped going out, stopped being me. Sometimes I would catch myself staring at nothing, hours passing without me noticing. Other times I'd laugh randomly, ha, like my mind didn't know how to process the pain. But slowly, very slowly, something began to change. One morning I woke up and the pain wasn't the first thing I felt. It was still there, but it wasn't everything. I made coffee, burned the toast, and for the first time in weeks I smiled. A small smile, a weak one, but real. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in tiny moments, in quiet mornings, in choosing to get out of bed, in choosing to breathe even when it hurts. I started going for walks, then runs, then I joined a small art class. I wasn't good at it, not even close, but it made me feel something again. Color, life, possibility. Months passed. I filed for divorce, signed the papers with a steady hand, even though my heart still ached. And one day I saw him at a cafe with her, Lena. She was beautiful, of course she was. They were laughing together, ha, the same way we used to. For a moment the pain came rushing back. Sharp, sudden, overwhelming. But then something unexpected happened. I didn't break, I didn't cry, I just watched and realized something. That wasn't my life anymore, that wasn't my story. I turned around, walked away. And as I stepped out into the sunlight, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Not the loud, exciting kind, but the quiet, peaceful kind. The kind that whispers, "You survived, I'm still healing." Some days are harder than others, some nights still hurt. But I'm learning. Learning that love shouldn't feel like fear. Learning that I deserve honesty. Learning that losing someone who didn't truly love me isn't a loss, it's a release. So if you're listening to this and you're hurting and you feel like your world has ended, I promise you it hasn't. It's just beginning again. And one day you'll laugh. Not the broken kind, ha, but the real kind. The kind that comes from a heart that has been shattered and rebuilt, stronger than ever. And when that day comes, you'll understand. Betrayal didn't end your story, it rewrote it. And maybe, just maybe, it made it better. I used to think healing was a straight line. Wake up, feel a little better, move on. But no one tells you how healing actually works. It circles back, it revisits. It knocks on your door when you least expect it, and sometimes it doesn't even knock, it just walks right in. 6 months after Ethan left, I had rebuilt something that looked like a life. Not the same life. Not the one with Sunday pancakes and shared laughter echoing through the kitchen. This one was quieter, lonelier, but mine. I had new routines now. Morning coffee by the window, soft music playing in the background, evenings filled with painting, colors spilling across canvas like emotions I still couldn't fully explain. People told me I looked stronger, and maybe I was, but strength doesn't mean the pain is gone. It just means you've learned how to carry it without collapsing. Some nights I still reached for my phone, almost calling him. Some mornings I still expected to see his side of the bed filled. And then reality would settle in again, slow, heavy, like a weight pressing against my chest. But I didn't break anymore. I bent, and bending is still surviving. One evening, my friend Mia dragged me out. "You need air," she said, practically pulling me out the door. "I have air," I protested weakly. "You have walls," she replied. "Big difference." I laughed, a reluctant, tired laugh, but I went. We ended up at a small open mic cafe, dim lights, soft chatter, a man on stage playing guitar, his voice rough but honest. It felt safe, like a place where broken people came to breathe. I sat there, sipping something warm, letting the music wrap around me. And then I felt it, that strange feeling like someone was watching you. I looked up. And there he was, not Ethan, someone else, tall, calm, quiet eyes that didn't rush away when I met them. He smiled just a little, not the confident kind, the careful kind, the kind that asks permission without words. I quickly looked away, my heart doing something unfamiliar, something I wasn't ready to name. No, not again. I wasn't ready. I couldn't be. Later that night, Mia nudged me. "You saw him, didn't you?" "I don't know what you're talking about," I muttered. "Ha ha ha, Claire, please, you look like you saw a ghost." "I've already seen one," I whispered. Her smile faded. She squeezed my hand. "Not everyone is him," she said gently. I didn't respond, because that was the problem. I didn't know how to believe that. Days passed, then weeks, and somehow life kept moving. One afternoon, I was at the art studio, completely lost in my painting. Brush strokes, colors, silence. That's when I heard a voice behind me. "You always paint like that." I froze, slowly turned around. It was him, the man from the cafe. Up close, he looked even more real. Not perfect, not polished, just real. Like what?" I asked. "Like you're trying to say something you don't have words for," he said, my breath caught. Because that was exactly what I was doing. "I guess I am," I admitted quietly. He nodded like he understood. "I'm Daniel," he said. "Claire." There was a pause, not awkward, just careful. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he added. "I just recognized you from the cafe." "Oh," I said softly. "I almost came over that night," he continued. "But you looked like you needed space." I let out a small laugh, surprised almost. "That obvious, huh?" "Only if you felt it before," he replied. That sentence, it stayed with me. We talked a little more, nothing deep, nothing overwhelming, just simple things. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to pretend. After that, I started seeing him around. At the studio, at the cafe. Sometimes just a nod, sometimes a short conversation. He never pushed, never rushed. And that mattered more than I realized. Because after betrayal, pressure feels like danger. Weeks turned into months, and slowly something shifted again. Not the overwhelming, all-consuming love I had with Ethan. No, this was different, quieter, safer, like standing near a fire instead of being thrown into it. One evening, we walked together after class, the sky painted in soft oranges and pinks. "I used to hate sunsets," I admitted. Daniel looked at me confused. "Why?" "Because they reminded me that things end," I said. He thought for a moment. "Or," he said gently, "they remind you that something beautiful can exist, even if it doesn't last forever." I swallowed hard, because that hit something deep inside me. "You always talk like that?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "Only when it matters." Silence settled between us again, comfortable, warm, but then fear crept in, that old, familiar fear. "What if it happens again?" I whispered, almost to myself. He didn't pretend not to hear. "It might," he said honestly. I looked at him, startled. But that doesn't mean it will, he added. And it doesn't mean you stop living because of what someone else did. My chest tightened. Tears burned behind my eyes. I don't know if I can go through that again, I admitted. You won't be the same person going through it, he said. And that changed everything, because he was right. I wasn't the same Claire who believed blindly. I wasn't the same woman who ignored the signs. I was stronger now, wiser, still broken in places, yes, but no longer fragile. That night when I got home, I stood in front of the mirror, looked at myself, really looked. I survived, I whispered, and for the first time I believed it. But healing has layers, and just when you think you've reached the surface, life reminds you there's more underneath. A week later, my phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick it up. Hello, silence. Then, Claire. My heart stopped. I knew that voice. I knew it instantly. Ethan. Everything inside me froze. The past, the pain, the memories, all rushing back at once. I just wanted to talk, he said. Talk after everything. After months of silence. After breaking me into pieces. I felt my hands start to shake, my breath uneven. Part of me wanted to hang up, part of me wanted to scream, and a small, dangerous part of me wanted to listen. Ha ha ha! A broken sound escaped my lips before I could stop it. You want to talk, I said, my voice trembling. Now. I made a mistake, he said quickly. A mistake. That word again. I know I hurt you, he continued. But I miss you. Miss me. I closed my eyes. Tears slipped down silently. Not the same tears as before. These were different, stronger, more aware. You don't miss me, I said softly. You miss what I gave you. Silence on the other end. And in that silence, I realized something. I wasn't the same woman anymore. The one who would beg, the one who would stay, the one who would break completely. No, that version of me was gone. I hope you find whatever you're looking for, Ethan, I said. And before he could respond, I hung up. My hands were still shaking, my heart still racing. But deep inside, there was something new, something powerful. Peace. Not perfect, not complete, but real. I walked to the window, looked out at the fading light, a sunset. And this time I didn't feel sadness. I felt calm, because endings aren't always losses. Sometimes they're the moment you finally choose yourself. And this time I did. I chose me. I thought the hardest part was over, walking away, saying his name without breaking, choosing myself. But no one tells you that sometimes the past doesn't stay in the past. It waits, quietly, patiently, for the right moment to return. A few days after Ethan's call, I tried to move forward like nothing had happened. And on the outside, I did. I painted. I laughed with Mia. I met Daniel for coffee sometimes. But inside, something had shifted. Not broken, just unsettled. Like the surface of a calm lake after a stone has been thrown. The ripples don't last forever. But while they're there, you feel them. Daniel noticed. Of course he did. He always noticed the things I tried to hide. You're somewhere else today, he said one afternoon, watching me mix colors on my palette. I'm right here, I replied, not looking up. Ha ha ha, your hands are here, he said gently. But your mind, not so much. I sighed, put the brush down. I got a call, I admitted. He didn't ask who, he already knew. And, he said softly. And nothing, I replied quickly. I handled it. He nodded, but he didn't look convinced. Handling something doesn't mean it didn't affect you, he said. That hit harder than I expected. I'm fine, I insisted. There it was again. Fine, that word I kept hiding behind. Daniel stepped a little closer, not too close, just enough. You don't have to be fine all the time, he said. My throat tightened. Because part of me wanted to collapse right there. To admit that hearing Ethan's voice had shaken something deep inside me. That a small part of me hated how familiar it felt. But instead, I just nodded and changed the subject, because some truths take time to face. That evening, I went home early. The sky was heavy with clouds, the kind that make everything feel quieter than it should. I made tea, sat by the window, tried to paint, but my hands wouldn't cooperate. My mind kept replaying his voice. I miss you. I laughed under my breath, ha ha ha, but it sounded tired. You don't get to miss me, I whispered into the empty room. You lost me. The words felt strong, but my chest still ached. And that's when my phone buzzed again. A message, unknown number. My heart immediately started racing. No, no, not again. I stared at the screen. For a long moment, I didn't move. Then slowly I opened it. It was Ethan. It was a picture my breath caught, a photo of him, Ethan, standing outside our old house, holding something in his hand, a letter, below it a message. He's been coming here every day. My fingers went cold. What? Another message followed. I think you deserve to know. No name, no explanation, just that. I felt the room spin slightly. Why would he be there? Why now? And who was sending this? Questions flooded my mind, crashing into each other, making it hard to think clearly. Part of me wanted to ignore it, delete the message, pretend none of this was happening, but another part, the part that had been hurt, needed answers. The next morning I drove there. I told myself I wouldn't get out of the car, that I would just look, just confirm, nothing more. But as soon as I turned the corner, I saw him. Ethan, sitting on the front steps, head down, letter in his hands, just like the photo. For a moment, everything inside me froze. This was the man who broke me, the man who walked away, the man who chose someone else. And yet there he was, looking lost. I should have driven away. I should have protected myself. But my heart, my stupid, human heart, didn't listen. I parked the car, stepped out. Each step toward him felt heavier than the last, until Ethan. He looked up, shock flooded his face. Claire! For a second, neither of us spoke, the air between us thick with everything we didn't say. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He stood up quickly. I didn't think you'd come. I didn't either, I replied honestly. His eyes softened, and for a split second, I saw the man I used to love, that familiar look, that dangerous familiarity. What is this? I gestured toward the letter. Why are you here? He looked down at it, then back at me. I wrote this for you, he said, a letter, of course, because words on paper are easier than truth in person. I didn't know how to say it, he continued. So I came here, hoping maybe one day you'd see me. Ha ha ha. The sound slipped out before I could stop it. You thought waiting outside the house you left me and would fix everything, I said, shaking my head. No, he said quickly. I needed you to know the truth. Truth, that word again. Then say it, I said, right now. He hesitated, and for a moment I thought, here we go again, more silence, more half-answers, but then he spoke. She left me. I blinked. What? Lena, he said quietly. She ended things. Something twisted in my chest. Not relief, not satisfaction, just something complicated. And now you're here, I asked slowly. Because she left. No, he said, stepping closer. That's not why. Then why? I challenged. His voice broke slightly. Because I realized I lost the only person who ever truly loved me. My heart pounded dangerously. Don't, I whispered. Don't do that. It's true, he insisted. I was stupid. I thought I wanted something else, something new, but it wasn't real. Not real. I clenched my fists. You don't get to rewrite what happened, I said, my voice shaking now. You made a choice. I know, he said, and I regret it every day. Regret. Another word that comes too late. He held out the letter. Please just read it. I stared at it. That small piece of paper felt heavier than anything I'd ever held, because it wasn't just a letter. It was a door back to the past, back to the pain, back to him. And for a moment I almost took it, almost. But then something inside me stopped. Quiet voice. Stronger than before, clearer. No, I said, his hand froze in the air. I don't need a letter to understand what you did, I continued. And I don't need your regret to heal. His face fell. Claire, please, I loved you, I said, my voice breaking despite everything. I gave you everything, and you threw it away like it didn't matter. Tears slipped down my cheeks, but I didn't look away. You don't get to come back just because it didn't work out with someone else, I added. Silence, heavy, final. I'm not your second choice, I whispered. That was it. That was the truth. The one I had fought so hard to accept, the one that finally set me free. He lowered his hand slowly, the letter still untouched. I'm sorry, he said, and for the first time I believed him, but belief doesn't mean forgiveness, and forgiveness doesn't always mean going back. I nodded once, then turned around, walked back to my car, each step lighter than the last. I didn't look back, not this time. Not ever again. As I drove away, tears fell again, but they felt different. Not like something was breaking, but like something was finally letting go. That evening I met Daniel. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that doesn't need to be filled. I saw him today, I said eventually. Daniel didn't react, didn't interrupt, just listened. He tried to come back, I added, and, he asked softly. I looked at him, really looked at the calm in his eyes, the patience, the honesty, and I smiled, a real one. I didn't go back, I said. Something in his expression shifted. Not relief, not victory, just respect. I'm glad, he said. And for the first time in a long time, I felt it. Not fear, not doubt, something new. Hope, quiet, gentle, but real. Maybe love doesn't have to be loud. Maybe it doesn't have to hurt to be meaningful. Maybe it just has to be honest. And this time I was ready to find out. Peace is a strange thing. You don't notice it when it's there. But once you've lived without it, even a small moment of calm feels like a miracle. After that day with Ethan, something inside me settled. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough to breathe a little easier. Enough to sleep without waking up in the middle of the night with my chest tight and my thoughts racing. I thought that was it, that the past had finally loosened its grip. I was wrong. Because sometimes the truth doesn't come all at once. It reveals itself in pieces, and some pieces change everything. A few days later, I was back at the art studio, brush in hand, music low, the familiar comfort of colors blending under my fingertips. Daniel was there too, across the room, sketching quietly. We had fallen into a rhythm, not forced, not rushed, just steady, and for once, steady didn't scare me. Your colors are different today, he said, glancing at my canvas. I looked down. He was right. They were softer, warmer. I guess I feel different, I replied. He smiled slightly. I can see that. There was a pause. Then he added, you handled it well. I looked at him. You don't even know what happened. I know enough, he said gently. That made me pause. What do you mean? He hesitated just for a second, but I noticed, because now I notice things. Nothing, he said. I just meant you seem stronger. Something about that felt off. Not wrong, just incomplete. But I let it go, or at least I thought I did. Later that evening, I was cleaning my brushes when my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. My stomach dropped. Not again. I stared at it. This time I didn't hesitate. I opened the message. You saw him. 3 words, that was all. My chest tightened. Who was this? Why were they watching? Before I could think, another message came. You deserve the full truth. My hands started to shake. Full truth? What else was there? I typed quickly. Who is this? The reply came almost instantly. Someone who knows what really happened. My heart pounded louder, faster, louder than my thoughts. What does that mean? I typed. There was a pause this time, longer, heavy, then it wasn't just him. I froze. The words didn't make sense, or maybe they did and I didn't want them to. What are you talking about? I whispered, even though I was texting. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again, and then the message came. She wasn't a stranger to you. My breath stopped. No, that's not possible. My mind immediately started searching, faces, names, memories, everyone I knew, everyone I trusted. No, I typed. You're wrong. But even as I sent it, doubt crept in. Slow, cold, uninvited, another message. Ask him. Him, Ethan, of course. My chest tightened again. I didn't want to go back there. I had just closed that door, locked it, thrown away the key. And now this, I stood there, frozen, my phone still in my hand. Claire! Daniel's voice broke through my thoughts. I turned quickly. He was closer now, watching me, concern in his eyes. You okay? He asked. That question again, always that question. And for a moment I almost said it, I'm fine, but the word caught in my throat, because this time I was. I don't know, I admitted. That was new. Honesty. Even when it felt uncomfortable. He stepped closer, not touching, just there. What happened? I hesitated. Then handed him my phone. He read the messages. His expression didn't change much, but something shifted, subtle but real. Do you know who this is? I asked. He shook his head. Could be anyone, he said. Someone trying to stir things up. Or someone telling the truth, I replied. Silence, heavy again. I don't think you should jump to conclusions, he said carefully. I'm not, I snapped, a little sharper than I intended. He didn't react, just nodded. Okay, he said calmly. That calmness, it grounded me, a little. I need to know, I said, softer now. Then find out, he replied, simple, direct, terrifying. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind wouldn't stop. She wasn't a stranger to you. The words echoed over and over. Who could it be, Mia? No, impossible. She was there for me through everything, always, or was she? I sat up in bed, my heart racing again. No, stop, you're overthinking. You're letting this get to you. But doubt, once it enters your mind, it doesn't leave quietly. Morning came too slowly, and too quickly at the same time. Before I could change my mind, I picked up my phone and called him. Ethan. It rang twice. Then he answered. Claire. His voice softer than before, careful. I need you to tell me the truth, I said immediately. A pause. What truth? My grip tightened on the phone. The whole truth, I said, about her. Silence, long, too long. Claire, he started. Don't, I interrupted. Don't lie to me again. Another pause. I could hear his breathing now, uneven, like he already knew what I was asking. She wasn't a stranger to me, was she? I said, my voice barely steady, and then everything changed because he didn't deny it. He didn't correct me, he just exhaled slowly. And in that sound, I got my answer. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. Who? I whispered, no response. Who, Ethan? I repeated louder now. Do you really want to know? He asked. A tear slipped down my cheek. No, I said honestly, but I need to. Silence. One last moment before everything broke open. And then, it was Mia. The world stopped, just stopped. No, I said immediately. No, that's not true. I'm sorry, he said, sorry again, always too late. No, you're lying, I insisted, shaking my head even though he couldn't see me. She's my best friend. I didn't know how to tell you, he said quietly. It wasn't supposed to. Stop, I snapped. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might shatter completely this time. Not again, not like this, not from her. Images flooded my mind. Mia hugging me when I cried. Mia telling me I deserved better. Mia sitting next to me, listening, comforting while she knew, while she was part of it. A broken laugh escaped me, ha ha ha, but it sounded almost unrecognizable. This is a joke, I whispered. I wish it was, he said. The room felt smaller, harder to breathe, everything closing in at once. 2 betrayals, not 1, 2, and suddenly everything made sense. The way Mia pushed me to move on. The way she always avoided certain questions. The way she looked at me sometimes like she was hiding something. I ended the call. I don't even remember pressing the button. I just couldn't hear his voice anymore. Silence filled the room, but it wasn't empty. It was loud, screaming with truth. My hands trembled, my chest ached, and tears came again, not soft this time, not quiet. They came heavy, relentless. Because this pain, this one was deeper, not just love, but friendship, trust, everything. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Betrayal doesn't always come from where you expect. Sometimes it comes from the people you would have never questioned. And that hurts the most. I sat there for a long time, not moving, not thinking, just feeling everything at once. Until one thought finally broke through the chaos. I have to face her. Not tomorrow, not later, now, because some truths don't wait. And neither should I. There are moments in life where everything inside you screams to run. Run away, avoid the truth, pretend you never heard it. But then there are moments where something stronger takes over, something that says no more. And this was one of those moments. I didn't cry anymore, not on the outside. Something had gone quiet inside me, too quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm. I grabbed my keys, didn't think, didn't hesitate. If I stopped even for a second, I knew I wouldn't go, and I had to go. The drive to Mia's apartment felt unreal. The streets blurred. The traffic lights changed, but I barely noticed. All I could hear over and over again, it was Mia. Ha ha ha, a hollow, shaking sound slipped out of me. My best friend. The one who held me while I cried over him. The one who told me I deserved better. The one who knew everything. Please let this be a lie, I whispered, gripping the steering wheel tighter. But deep down, I already knew. I parked outside her building, sat there for a moment, heart pounding, hands cold. This was it. There was no going back after this, no undoing what I was about to hear. I stepped out of the car. Each step toward her door felt heavier than the last. My chest tightened with every breath. And then I knocked, once, twice. The sound echoed louder than it should have. Footsteps inside, my heart jumped. The door opened. And there she was, Mia, soft sweater, messy hair, that same familiar face that had always felt like home. Claire, she said, surprised. Hey, her smile faded the moment she saw my expression because I wasn't smiling, I wasn't pretending, I wasn't hiding anything, not this time. We need to talk, I said. My voice was steady, too steady. She hesitated for a second, then stepped aside. Yeah, of course, come in. I walked in slowly. The apartment smelled like vanilla candles, warm, comforting. It made my chest ache because everything about this place used to feel safe. Now it felt like a lie. She closed the door behind me. What's going on? She asked carefully. I turned to face her, really face her. And for a moment I couldn't speak because I was looking at someone I trusted with my whole heart and wondering how much of it was real. How long? I asked quietly. She blinked. What? How long, Mia? I repeated, her expression shifted. Confusion, then something else, something darker. I don't know what you mean, she said. There it was, the lie, so easy, so smooth, and that hurt more than anything. Ha ha ha. The sound broke out of me, sharp and bitter. You don't know. Claire, I talked to Ethan. I cut in, silence. Everything froze, her face changed. That was it. That was the moment. The truth written all over her without a single word. My chest tightened painfully. Say it, I whispered. She didn't, she just stood there, and that silence confirmed everything. You were with him, I said, not a question, a fact. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Claire, how long? My voice cracked this time, no more control, no more calm. How long were you with my husband? I demanded. She flinched. That one word, husband. Months, she said softly, months. The same word Ethan used, like they had rehearsed it, like they had lived it. My knees felt weak, but I didn't fall. Not in front of her, not now. While I was crying to you, I asked, my voice trembling. While I was telling you everything, she covered her face with her hands. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said, her voice breaking. I laughed again, louder this time, ha ha ha, but it sounded shattered. That's exactly what he said, I snapped. Original, so original. It just happened, I continued, stepping closer. Is that it? You just accidentally betrayed me. No, she cried. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I shot back. Explain it to me, Mia. Help me understand how my best friend ends up in my husband's arms. She shook her head, tears falling fast now. We didn't plan it, she said. It just started small, talking, texting. He said you were distant, that things weren't good. I froze. What? He said you were pulling away, she continued, her voice shaking. That you didn't understand him anymore. Stop, I whispered. My stomach dropped. That familiar twist. The blame, of course it comes back to me. I was trying to fix us, I said, my voice breaking now. I was fighting for my marriage. I know, she cried. I know that now. Now, always now, too late. I thought he needed someone, she said weakly. And you decided that someone should be you, I asked, disbelief flooding my voice. She didn't answer because there was no answer that could fix this. I trusted you, I said softly. That hurt more than yelling, more than anger. I trusted you more than anyone. Her face crumpled. I hate myself for it, she whispered. You should, I replied. The words came out cold, sharp, and I didn't take them back because some pain deserves honesty. I never wanted to hurt you, she said. But you did, I answered immediately, no hesitation, no softness. You didn't just hurt me, Mia, I continued. You broke something in me that I don't know if I can ever fix. Silence filled the room, heavy, unforgiving. I ended it, she said suddenly. I looked at her. What? I ended it before he left you, she explained quickly. I realized it was wrong. I couldn't keep doing it. That's why he came back to you, not because of me. I stared at her, trying to process, trying to understand if that even mattered. It didn't, not really, because the damage was already done. You still did it, I said. She nodded slowly. I know. Tears kept falling down her face. But this time they didn't move me, not the way they used to, because I had cried those same tears. And she had watched, knowing the truth, that thought that was the one that cut the deepest. I was there for you, she whispered. No, I said quietly. You were there because of your guilt. Her breath caught, and I knew I was right, because real support doesn't come with secrets like that. Real love doesn't hide betrayal. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. Good, because I couldn't, not now, maybe not ever. I don't even know who you are anymore, I admitted. That hurt to say. Because it meant losing more than just a relationship. It meant losing history, memories, years of friendship, gone just like that. I miss you, she said, her voice breaking again. I closed my eyes for a moment, and when I opened them I felt something shift, not anger, not sadness, something clearer, final. "I miss who I thought you were," I said. That was the truth, the hardest truth. I took a step back toward the door. "Claire," she whispered, but I shook my head. "No," I said, not harsh. Not loud, just certain. "I can't carry this anymore." I reached for the door. My hand paused for just a second, one last moment, one last memory, then I opened it and walked out. This time, the tears didn't come right away. The air outside felt different, colder but clearer, like something heavy had finally been exposed to light. I got into my car, sat there, hands resting on the steering wheel, breathing slowly, deeply. And then a tear slipped down, just one, followed by another. But this time they didn't feel like weakness. They felt like release, because sometimes closure doesn't come from apologies. It comes from facing the truth and choosing to walk away anyway. And as I drove off, leaving her behind, leaving that chapter behind, I realized something. I didn't just lose them. They lost me. And maybe that was the beginning of something stronger than I ever imagined. Losing two people at once doesn't feel like heartbreak. It feels like silence. A kind of silence that stretches into every corner of your life, where laughter used to live, where comfort used to exist, where trust once felt natural. After Mia, after everything came out, I didn't cry the way I expected. No screaming, no collapsing, just quiet. The kind that makes you sit with yourself and realize there's no one left to blame. No one left to run to, just you. And whatever is left of you. The next few days passed in a blur. I stayed home, turned my phone off, ignored the world. Not because I was weak, but because I needed space to feel everything without noise. Because this pain, it was different. Ethan broke my heart, but Mia, she broke my sense of safety. And rebuilding that takes more than time. It takes courage. One morning I stood in front of the mirror again. Same place, same reflection, but not the same woman. My eyes looked clearer. Tired, yes, but stronger. "I'm still here," I whispered. It didn't sound powerful. It didn't need to. It just needed to be true, and it was. So I did something small, something simple. I went outside. The air felt different on my skin, fresh, honest. Not filled with memories or lies, just real. I walked without a destination, letting my feet decide, letting my thoughts come and go. And for the first time in a long time, my mind wasn't screaming. It was quiet, peaceful even. Not because everything was okay, but because I had faced the worst of it and survived. Days turned into a new routine. I returned to the art studio, picked up my brushes again. At first, the colors felt heavy, dark, sharp, but slowly they began to change, more light, more softness, not forced, just natural, like healing finding its way back without asking permission. Daniel was there, of course he was, but something between us had shifted, not broken, just paused. Because after everything with Mia, trust didn't come easily anymore, and he understood that. He didn't ask questions, didn't push conversations, he just stayed, present, consistent, and somehow that meant more than words. One evening, as the sun dipped low outside the studio windows, he spoke. "You don't have to go through this alone," he said. I kept painting. "I know," I replied softly. "Do you?" he asked. I paused, because that was the truth, wasn't it? I wasn't alone, but I felt alone, and there's a difference. "I'm learning," I admitted. He nodded. "That's enough. Enough." Such a simple word, but for the first time, it didn't feel like something I lacked. It felt like something I was becoming. We stood there in silence for a while, and then I asked something I didn't expect. "Why are you so patient with me?" The question hung in the air. He didn't answer right away. And that made me look at him, really look. There was something in his expression, something I hadn't noticed before, or maybe something I hadn't allowed myself to see. "Because I know what it's like," he said finally. My heart slowed. "What do you mean?" He exhaled quietly, like he had been holding something in for a long time. "I've been on the other side of this," he said. A strange feeling settled in my chest. "What do you mean by that?" I asked carefully. His eyes met mine, steady, honest. "I was the one who betrayed someone once," he said. Everything inside me stilled. Not shock, not anger, just stillness, because I wasn't expecting that, not from him. Not from the one person who felt safe. "I hurt someone who trusted me," he continued. "A long time ago. My chest tightened slightly, old wounds reacting to new truth. Was it like this? I asked, my voice quiet. He shook his head. No, he said. Not exactly, but it was still wrong. Silence filled the space between us again, but this time it felt different. He wasn't hiding it. He wasn't lying. He was telling me willingly, and that mattered. I told myself a lot of things back then, he said. That it wasn't serious, that it didn't mean anything, that I wasn't really hurting anyone. His voice dropped slightly. But I was wrong. I swallowed, because those words, they sounded familiar, too familiar. I lost someone because of it, he added, and I deserved to. The honesty in his voice, it didn't feel defensive. It didn't feel like an excuse. It felt real. I spent a long time hating myself for it, he said. Trying to figure out how I became that person. I didn't interrupt, because this was important. And, I asked gently, and I realized something, he said. People don't become better by pretending they never did something wrong. He looked at me. They become better by facing it. That word hit deep because I had just done that with Ethan, with Mia, with myself. I'm not that person anymore, he said quietly, but I don't forget that I was. A long silence followed. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was thoughtful, careful, real. You're telling me this now, why? I asked. He didn't hesitate this time. Because you deserve honesty, he said. That answer, it settled something inside me, slowly, gently. Like a door opening just a little. I don't want to build anything with you on something that isn't true, he added. Something, not everything, not pressure, just something. And for the first time since everything happened, I didn't feel fear, not completely. There was still hesitation, still caution, but underneath it there was something else. Trust, not fully formed, not complete, but starting. I don't know if I'm ready, I said honestly. I know, he replied. No disappointment, no urgency. Just understanding. And I'm not asking you to be, he added. That was the difference. That was what made this feel safe. We stood there as the last light of the day faded, and I realized something. Healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about learning who you are after it. And maybe, just maybe, it's also about choosing who you allow into that new version of yourself. I looked at him again. At the man who didn't hide his past, who didn't pretend to be perfect, who didn't rush me. And I smiled softly, not because everything was okay, but because something felt possible. Not guaranteed, not certain, but possible. And after everything, that was enough. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking for forever. I was just allowing myself to begin again. Moving forward doesn't feel like a grand moment. There's no music, no sudden clarity where everything makes sense. It's quieter than that. It's choosing not to look back even when you still remember everything. Days turned into weeks, and for the first time in a long time, life didn't feel like something I had to survive. It felt like something I could live, not perfectly, not without scars, but honestly. I started saying yes to small things, coffee invitations, walks in the evening. Even laughter, real laughter, ha, the kind that doesn't feel forced or broken. And each time it felt a little easier, a little lighter. Daniel was still there, steady, unchanged in the ways that mattered, but I noticed something about myself. I wasn't leaning on him, not the way I used to lean on people. I was standing on my own, and choosing to let him stand beside me. That difference, it meant everything. One afternoon, we sat by the lake just outside the city. The water was calm, still reflecting the sky like a quiet mirror. I used to hate places like this, I admitted. He glanced at me. Why? Too peaceful, I said. It made me think something bad was about to happen. He smiled slightly. And now, I looked out at the water, took a slow breath. Now it just feels peaceful. And I meant it. That was new. That was growth. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that doesn't need to be filled. And then he spoke. What are you afraid of? The question caught me off guard. I thought about it, really thought, and then I answered honestly. Trusting again. He nodded. Fair. And losing myself, I added quietly. That was the deeper fear, not just being hurt, but becoming someone smaller, someone quieter, someone who ignores their own voice just to keep someone else. I don't want to go back to that version of me, I said. You won't, he replied calmly. I looked at him. You don't know that. I do, he said. How? Because you see things now, he explained. You question, you pause, you don't ignore what feels wrong. That was true. Pain had changed me, but not in the way I used to fear. It didn't make me weaker, it made me aware. "And you don't need me to keep you from losing yourself," he added. That surprised me. "Then why are you here?" I asked. He smiled softly. "Because I want to be," he said. No pressure, no need, just choice. And something about that, it felt right. Weeks passed, and slowly, carefully, I let him in a little more. Not everything, not all at once, but enough. Enough to talk about my past without my voice breaking. Enough to laugh without hesitation. Enough to feel something without fear taking over completely. And then life tested me one last time. It was unexpected. Of course it was. I was at the studio when I saw her, Mia, standing in the doorway. My chest tightened immediately. Not the same sharp pain as before, but still something. Something real. She looked different, tired, quieter, like the weight of everything had finally caught up to her. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she took a step forward. "Claire," she said softly. Her voice, it didn't sound like guilt this time. It sounded like acceptance. I put my brush down slowly, walked toward her, not too close, just enough. "What do you want?" I asked. No anger, no softness, just clarity. She swallowed. "I'm not here to fix anything," she said. "I know I can't." Good, at least she understood that. "I just needed to say something," she continued. I didn't respond, I just listened. Because this time I wasn't afraid of what she might say. "I lost you," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "And I deserve that." Silence. "I keep replaying everything in my head," she added. "Every moment you trusted me, every time you opened up to me, and her voice broke. She looked down. "I hate who I was," she whispered. I watched her carefully. Not with the same emotion as before, not with the same attachment, just awareness. "You don't get to undo it," I said. She nodded immediately. "I know." "And you don't get me back," I added. Another nod, tears in her eyes, but she didn't try to hide them. "I know that too," she said. That honesty, it mattered, not enough to fix things, but enough to close something properly. "I just wanted you to hear it from me," she said. "No excuses, no blame, just the truth." The truth. It came late. It came. And strangely, that gave me something I didn't realize I needed. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but closure. "I hope you become better than the person who did that," I said quietly. She looked up at me. "I'm trying," she whispered. I believed her, not because of what she said, but because of how she said it. And for the first time since everything happened, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pain. I just felt done. "I hope you do," I replied. That was it. No hug. No goodbye, just an ending. She nodded once, then turned and walked away. And this time I didn't watch her go with heartbreak. I watched her go with understanding. Some people aren't meant to stay in your life, not because you didn't love them, but because they broke something that can't be rebuilt. And that's okay. Because not every story is meant to continue. Some are meant to end so a better one can begin. That evening I found Daniel outside, waiting, not questioning, just there. "She came," I said. He nodded. "And," I took a deep breath, and for the first time there was no weight behind it. "It's over," I said, "not just the conversation, everything." He studied my face for a moment, then smiled slightly. "A real over?" he asked. I smiled back, soft, calm, real. "A real over." We stood there as the sun began to set, and for once the ending didn't feel like loss. It felt like space. Space for something new, something honest, something that didn't come from pain but from growth. I looked at him, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with quiet certainty. "I'm not ready for forever," I said. "I know," he replied. "But," I added, my voice softer now, "I think I'm ready to try." His smile didn't widen. He didn't step closer. He didn't rush the moment. He just nodded. And that told me everything I needed to know. Because this time, there was no pressure, no illusion, no perfect promise. Just two people standing at the beginning of something real. And after everything I had been through, that was more than enough. Because sometimes the strongest kind of love is the one that starts slowly, grows honestly, and never asks you to lose yourself to keep it. And this time I wasn't afraid. I was ready. I used to think endings were loud. Crying, screaming, doors slamming, hearts breaking all at once. But the truth is, real endings are quiet. They happen in the moment you stop hopping for something that already ended. They happen when the pain no longer controls your thoughts. When memories don't sting the way they used to. When you finally let go. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in one big, powerful moment. It happened slowly, softly, like the tide pulling away from the shore. Little by little, weeks turned into months, and somewhere along the way I stopped counting the days since everything fell apart, because my life was no longer defined by what I lost. It was shaped by what I chose to build after. I kept painting, not to escape anymore, but to express. My colors changed. They became lighter, freer, no longer trapped in the weight of what I had been through. People started noticing. "You look different," they'd say, and I'd smile, a quiet, knowing smile. Because I was, not a new person, just a truer one. Daniel stayed. Not as someone who fixed me, not as someone who completed me, but as someone who walked beside me, and that made all the difference. We took things slowly. Coffee turned into dinners. Dinners turned into long conversations under quiet skis. And laughter, real laughter, ha-ha-ha, found its way back into my life again. But this time, it wasn't built on illusion. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't something I held on to out of fear. It was chosen, every single day. One evening, we went back to the lake, the same place where I once admitted my fears, the same place where I learned that peace doesn't have to mean something bad is coming. The water was calm again, still, endless. "You're different," Daniel said softly. I smiled slightly. "I hope that's a good thing." "It is," he replied. "You don't look like you're waiting for something to go wrong anymore." I looked out at the horizon. He was right. That constant fear, that quiet anxiety, it was gone. Not because life became perfect, but because I became stronger. "I'm not afraid of being hurt anymore," I said. He raised an eyebrow slightly. "Not at all." I let out a small laugh, ha-ha-ha, softer this time. "Okay, maybe a little," I admitted, "but I'm not afraid of losing myself again." And that was the real victory, because heartbreak doesn't destroy you, losing yourself does, and I had found my way back. We sat there in silence, comfortable, peaceful, real. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I needed to hold on to the moment. I just lived in it. That night when I got home, I found something unexpected. A letter, not on my phone, not a message, a real letter, my name written on the front. My heart paused for just a second, not fear, not anymore, just curiosity. I opened it slowly. Inside, it was from Ethan. Of course it was. Some things take time to arrive, but they arrive anyway. I started reading. "I don't expect you to forgive me," I smiled faintly. At least he understood that part now. "I just want you to know that losing you made me realize everything I took for granted." The words were honest, painfully so, and for the first time they didn't hurt. They didn't pull me back. They didn't make me question anything. They just existed, as part of a past that no longer defined me. "I hope you're happy," he wrote at the end. I stared at that line for a long moment, and then I folded the letter carefully, placed it back in the envelope, not with anger, not with sadness, but with peace, because I was happy, not the perfect movie kind of happy, but the real kind, the kind you build, the kind you fight for, the kind that comes after you've been broken and choose to rise anyway. Next morning, I woke up early. Sunlight pouring into the room, soft, warm. I stood by the window, coffee in hand, watching the world slowly come to life, and I thought about everything. The love, the betrayal, the pain, the healing. Every moment that felt like it would destroy me, every moment that rebuilt me. And I smiled, because I finally understood something. Betrayal didn't ruin my life, it revealed it. It showed me who people really were. But more importantly, it showed me who I am. Strong. Resilient. Capable of loving deeply, but also capable of walking away when that love isn't returned honestly. And maybe that's the most important kind of strength there is. Later that day, I met Daniel again. We walked without rushing, without needing to fill every second with words. And at one point, he reached for my hand, not suddenly, not forcefully, just gently, giving me the choice. I looked at his hand, then at him. And I smiled, all soft, steady, certain. And I took it, not because I needed him, but because I wanted to. And that made all the difference. As we walked forward together, I didn't think about the past. I didn't wonder what could have been. I didn't carry the weight of what I lost, because I wasn't that person anymore. I was someone new, someone stronger, someone free. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I was ready for it, because this time my story wasn't about betrayal. It wasn't about heartbreak. It wasn't even about loss. It was about becoming. And becoming is the most powerful story of all. So if you're listening to me right now, and your heart feels heavy, and your trust feels broken, and your world feels like it's falling apart, listen closely. Because I was you, and I survived. Not because I was stronger than the pain, but because I chose not to let it define me. And you can too. One day you'll wake up and the weight won't feel so heavy. The memories won't hurt the same way. And your heart will beat a little lighter again. And when that day comes, you'll realize something beautiful. You didn't lose your story, you found it. And trust me, it's worth telling. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment. Tell me about the door that opened for you. Hit subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.